But if you are not able to hear me, if you have any general technical difficulties, you can start a private message to our technical support, Angela Hanshaw, and describe your problem. To send a private message, you just click on her name at the top of the attendees list, Angela Hanshaw, and select Start Chat With. And so that way you can do a private chat with her and talk about any technical difficulties that you're experiencing. So hello, everyone. Welcome to the Who Are We online learning presentation. My name is Colleen Barbas. I am the Jafarian Award Coordinator for the ALA Public Programs Office. And today we're going to be joined by two presenters, Annalisa Kyler, who's chair of the Jafarian Award Selection Committee, and Fran Feely, who's the winner of the 2012 Jafarian Award. And they're going to help define the scope and purpose of the Jafarian Award, illustrate an award-winning example of a humanities program model for school libraries, and give the pertinent information on applying, including some helpful tips. So, as I said, if you're having any technical difficulties, you can have a private chat with Angela Hanshaw. And also just to note that the session is being recorded and it's going to be archived, which will be made available on the programminglibrarian.org website. And we will also have a question and answer period at the end. So if you have any questions, please hold those till the end, and you can put them in the Everyone chat at the lower left-hand corner of your screen. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Annalisa Kyler, school librarian at Homewood High School in Homewood, Alabama, and chair of the Jafarian Award Selection Committee. So she's going to start us off today with some background information on the Jafarian Award. So I will turn over the mic to Annalisa.
Okay, everyone. And I just wanted to start by giving a little bit of information about Sarah Jafarian herself and some basic information about the purpose of the award. The namesake of the award is a retired librarian, a school librarian, and she has been a member of ALA for 63 years. And she has a long history of leadership in the profession, so we're very grateful for her contribution to the profession and also for the award. And a donation was made by Sarah to the ALA Cultural Communities Fund, and it was also matched by a challenge grant from the National Endowment to the Humanities for the total cash award. So again, we're very grateful for her and also for the National Endowment to the Humanities for their matching grant. Just to give a little bit of a purpose for the award, basically we want to recognize, promote, and support excellence in humanities programming in the elementary and middle school libraries that serve children in grades K through 8. And to also further the promotion of this outstanding program, a professional development opportunity will be presented featuring the award-winning library as a model of excellence. So that is definitely one thing that we want to point out, that this needs to be a program that can be shared with others, and for the hopes that they'll be able to replicate something like that in their own library. And then moving on to really what we consider humanities programming. And humanities programming does a few things. First of all, encouraging students to ask questions about values. Also, connecting them to the world around them, including not only their culture, but cultures other than their own. And it really calls on them to reflect on their own experiences as members of different cultures and groups, including their families, their school community, and reaching even out to the country and the world. So we really want programming that can encourage students to think very broadly about their place in the world. Humanities programming would also interpret rather than judge events and really seek to broaden a student's perspective. And we really want to help them understand what their place is in the wider world. And so that's really what we're looking for in this type of programming. And just to give you an idea of what some potential subjects, it's definitely not limited to these subjects, but these definitely fit into humanities programming, and you can see what those are. So anything really that studies cultures and the world and our place in it, including things as wide-reaching as history, even including art and music, to government, to psychology, to religion, to ethics. So it can really reach subjects. And of course, it can cover one. And the Who Are We project that Fran will be sharing with us definitely covers more than one of these subjects. But it doesn't have to. And I believe that's about all I want to say right now, just as an introduction. And at this time, we will be moving on to the meat of the presentation, which will share Fran's project.
Okay, so much, Annalisa, for that information Defining Award. And as I said, the Who Are We program was a great example of an exemplary humanities program. So I'm very pleased to introduce Fran Feely, who's school librarian at Inter-American Magnet School in Chicago and winner of the 2012 Jafarian Award. And Fran is going to provide today details on his winning program and then talk a bit about his experience with the Jafarian Award application process itself. So I will turn the mic over to Fran.
Thank you, Colleen. My name is Fran Feely, and I'm the school librarian at Inter-American Magnet School in Chicago, Illinois. And I'd like to start by offering a little bit of information about the school. I'm proud of the school and the work that we do, and our mission and vision are a great fit with the goals of the Jafarian Award. Inter-American Magnet School is a public school in Chicago, serving approximately 700 ethnically, economically, and linguistically diverse students from preschool through 8th grade. Inter-American strives to promote academic excellence using a dual language model in which students learn in both Spanish and English. Also develop fluency and literacy skills in both languages. Caring, cooperative, and accepting school climate is fostered to promote the social, affective, and cognitive development of the whole child. Students affirm the values of their own cultures, acquire an understanding, appreciation, and acceptance of cultures, and demonstrate social consciousness in a pluralistic world. Students have a sense of responsibility to affect positive social change in their local and global communities. I'd like to talk about how these projects were developed. It was a series of 4 projects. In the fall of 2010, the school principal challenged the teachers of specials classes, that is, library, technology, art, and music, to design cooperative project-based quarterly projects that supported the curriculum and advanced the social justice element of our school's mission. The technology teacher and I agreed to design and execute the projects in our programs concurrently and establish a way of sharing library and technology student research findings with art and music students. We worked collaboratively to select content, resources, technology tools, assessment tools, skills and knowledge to support curriculum goals across various content areas. The program that emerged, entitled Who Are We, challenged multi-classrooms of 7th and 8th grade students to explore the behavior of human beings in the past and present in a series of quarterly research projects. Utilizing print and online resources and multiple social networking tools, students worked in small groups to research and create presentations of their findings about topics exploring individual and collective human behavior and action. We basically sought to connect books and media to the research. So as you'll see shortly, as we look a little more closely at the individual projects, we used a book or a film or both to get the ball rolling and get the kids thinking. We tried to engage the students in using print and online resources responsibly. We sought social networking tools for a variety of reasons, including setting up a mechanism so that students could check in with each other's research and simply ask each other's research easily. We tried to select topics that would intersect curriculum as well as complement our social justice aspect of our mission. And as the year progressed, we became better at establishing fixed elements that were requirements of each project. So regardless of a student's specific topic, they had to meet certain requirements that we began to call the elements of the project. All information about each project was posted on a page of the school library website. This really helped the organization for these projects. The web pages typically included a number of documents that could be downloaded or viewed anywhere, anytime, any place. Among typical documents that would be posted for viewing and downloading were a detailed description of the assignment requirements, an assessment rubric, a parent information letter that was to go home and be returned, signed each quarter, as well as a document with any technology tool instructions. Other things that were posted on that page were and continue to be teacher models of completed projects and teacher models of the research process. We'll be talking shortly about research wikis. I would always complete mine at least within the first week or so of the project, so that students had a very clear vision of what was expected of them. Others that were included on the project page included links to recommended resources and links to tools, including sites for generating bibliography citations. We also established the custom of posting the list of student groupings. Typically, the students worked in pairs, so each group would be listed on the project page along with their research wiki and eventually a link to their final digital product. Probably asking, what's a research wiki? Maybe some of you know. Wikispaces.com is an online tool that can be used for any number of purposes. I use it for the host for my library website. In the case of student projects, the students, they create a research wiki with various pages. For example, one page will have all their key elements. So I would encourage them to copy and paste all the requirements onto one page of their wiki. And as they moved along in the quarter, they would fill in the information needed in the right place, and that the information requirements under those at all times. Another page of research wikis would be dedicated to any images, relevant images that would be useful in their products. So they would post them there and copy and paste in URLs as well, so that they make citations for them later and get back to them easily. There was another page was always dedicated to citations links, so that they would keep a record of where they were, their resources, and I encourage them to make their citations early. They wouldn't have to struggle with it at the last minute at the end of the quarter. And then finally, typically there is a page dedicated to their final scripts, which they composed from information that they findings posted on their key element page. I also created some folders for each pair, so that as the quarter progressed, anything to give them, they had a print copy in the folder, and when they printed out articles, other information, they would just have those copies with them every day. Print resources and free and subscription online information sources. Students created information products using online tools, online and offline tools such as PowerPoint.com and Glocks.com. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the purposes of using spaces. Not only did it drive and organize the research for the students, but it allowed them to access each other's work. So during the first year of these projects, the projects that I wrote about in the application for the Jafari Award, the students, the computer students and the library students attended 4 days a week. And there was this other floating class of 7th and 8th graders that was going to all the traditional specials 1 day a week. So we were seeing one group 4 days and another group 1 day. So what we had the students that only came in once a week do was tap into the research the other students did and create smaller, less in-depth projects using Logster.com. So whereas the primary group was doing voice threads, which were very in-depth, and those students were responsible for the majority of the research, other class was borrowing other research findings, deepening them a little, even adding to them, and making Glogsters, which are online digital posters, and a much smaller commitment in terms of a product. I'm going to show you some shots now to give you an idea of what a typical project page looks like on wikispaces.com. This is a screenshot of a project called Power and Protest in America. Up here you'll see the essential questions. All of the projects are driven by essential questions, and also visible are a few of the documents that were downloadable, including the assignment, the root, a project calendar, instructions for using Wikispaces, instructions for using VoiceThread. On this screenshot, you'll see a term model. Up at the top, you'll see a link to mywikispace.com dedicated to this project, and you see both a link and an embedded frame of completed VoiceThread. This was Power and Protest in America. The project I chose to do as a model was about the farm labor movement, Cesar Chavez. This is what the resources look like. Many of these are subscription sources that are provided by the Chicago Public Schools Department of Libraries. Others are free and public. You'll also notice some links to some of the typical tools, a quick link to Wikispaces, a quick link to VoiceThread, a quick link to citationmachine.com. And here's a listing of the students in their groupings with their topics, links to their own Wikispaces, or I should say research wikis, and eventually links to their VoiceThreads. In some of the quarters, I embedded their final VoiceThreads, the way I embedded my model, but that really slows down the loading of a page. So more recently, I don't do that. It looks great, but it takes forever. It makes the page pretty unmanageable. Here's a screenshot of part of the first page of an assignment. I frame all of my projects in the context of the Big Six. Task definition is where I detail the actual requirements. So in this first project, actually this wasn't the first project. This was Power and Protest in America. There were 10 elements, and in some cases they had to do all 10 elements. In some quarters I might have 12 elements and say the first 4 are required, and in the long run you have to do a total of 9, and I sometimes offered extra credit for doing extra elements. Here's a couple of completed VoiceThreads embedded on the project page. Here's a typical citations and links page. And here's a screenshot of a portion of a key elements page. Notice that the information requirements are in bold, and they're always there, so the kids can never say, oh, I overlooked that requirement, or I only answered part A, but I skipped part B. It's right under their nose. Here's a typical relevant images page with a few photos and URLs. Okay, let's get to the meat of the projects now. I'm going to briefly describe each of them and talk about some of the typical elements that were required. The first project, which I called If America Were a Village, was inspired by this book of the same title by David J. Smith. That book served as the inspiration for this project. Student groups analyzed different aspects of the U.S. population, including characteristics such as the wealth distribution in this country, immigration patterns, religions practiced, energy and water usage, languages spoken, and poverty rates. The elements that were required in this included the need for them to establish their own research questions. They had to refer to historical events that had some bearing on their topic. They were required to report some sort of statistical data about their topic, and they had to do that in graphic format, a nice intersection with the math program. And many of them used Microsoft Excel, so they were using yet another technology tool. They had to identify a current event that related to their topic, and they had to express their own opinions about their findings. The student products for this project were VoiceThreads primarily, and then that class that visited just once a week created blogs. In the second quarter, the film Viva la Causa, about the life and work of Cesar Chavez, inspired the project Power and Protest in America. in which students researched and compared and contrasted various protest movements in U.S. history. The required elements included identifying the goals of the movement, identifying one or more leaders of the movement, describing one or more actions of the movement, describing who were the allies and why were they allies, identifying the opponents or the oppressors and explaining why those individuals or groups resisted change. They had to describe the outcomes of the movement, identify inspirational words that were spoken by a leader during that time, establish a connection to the present. And this was the first project that had a common elements element. And what that consisted of was requiring the students to look at the findings of other students by using the wiki spaces or simply having conversations among the groups where they looked for at least one similarity and at least one difference between their movement and the other students' movements. And that always was very interesting because the protest movements spanned a wide time period, and yet they always were able to find common elements. This was also the first project where I required an artwork element. And by that I mean they had to find some work of visual art that could be shown on a slide that somehow related to their protest movement. And then they had to describe the work, discuss the medium, find something out about the creator and the context in which the work was created. This was also the first quarter where the art students began to contribute back to us, at least in a couple of the quarters, and now fairly regularly. The art students will access the information about the projects using the wiki spaces, or they'll just talk with their classmates. Then they'll create something, a visual artwork in the art class, which then becomes photographed and pushed back to us so that our students can include those student artworks in their voice threads. And when library or computer students do use the artwork of a student, they're required to have some commentary by the student artist. The student products that quarter were voice threads again, and those students that only came once a week completed glogs. In the third project, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, students analyzed and interpreted specific articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The elements, this I have this one on my mind a lot these days because I'm recycling this project in a slightly new context this quarter, and it's the first time I've repeated any of these projects since doing them 2 years ago. The elements include some facts about the Declaration. I want the students to at least establish enough facts so that if somebody is watching their video and has never heard of it, will walk away with a pretty good idea of when it was drafted and why it was drafted. Another one of the elements is analyzing the meaning of their article. Each student chooses one of the 30 articles and focuses on that throughout the project. So I ask them to look at the plain language version, the original version, the Spanish language version, and just paraphrase it and explain its importance to all people. Why should it be universal, and how do people benefit from having that right guaranteed to them? Then they had to identify a place in the world where the right embodied in their article is being honored, and the positive impact for the people living in circumstances where that right is being honored. They also had to identify a place in the world where those rights are being denied and the negative impact on the people living in those circumstances. They were required to identify catalysts for change, individuals, groups, organizations that are striving to make a difference to expand the accessibility to their rights, the rights represented in their articles. And they were required to describe how regular people, like students in middle school, what people can do to contribute to those efforts to expand accessibility to that right. This quarterly project also had an artwork requirement as well as a data analysis requirement. And again, the kids did voice threads as their final projects with some logs thrown in. In the final project of this series, Individuals Who Stood Up to Power, a biography study, students explored the life and work of change makers. They were required to describe biographical information about their change maker, including a description of the injustice that presented itself and what circumstances of the life of that change maker put them in a situation where they took action. They were required to identify the opponents of that change maker's life and work, they were required to identify and describe the lasting legacy. What they decided was the most important legacy of that person's life and work. They had to find the connection to the present. They had to identify inspirational words and interpret them. And again, another artwork element. And the student products, again, were VoiceThreads. What you're looking at are a few benches that were created by students. As it turns out, the art teacher got a grant to put some benches around the building, and that coincided with our work on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So we have all of these benches around the building now with the words from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as well as artwork by the students that reflects that. Outcomes. The projects that we did this year, and now every year, they're driven by essential questions such as what is leadership? What's worth fighting for? What are human rights? Addressing these questions required students to go far beyond reporting research findings. These projects required students to work collaboratively in various ways, tools, content areas, and skills to create and share original digital projects that stir passion. Students made connections and noted trends with regard to past and present events. This program also transformed the middle school library program, and by extension, all the specials classes. Prior to this, each of the specials classes was a once-a-week activity, and we've become a core element of the middle school curriculum. These projects have also raised parent awareness of the library's programs and services. Parents pledge their support for these projects each quarter by signing and returning a form indicating that they've read all information about the project and that they will support their student in completing it. An added benefit results from the online availability at all times of the project information, forms, and student work. It increases awareness of the projects by everyone in the community, and it has facilitated some great conferences with parents before and after the project. If a parent comes up to me at the book fair or in the hallway or in the library, if I have an iPad handy or a computer handy, I can go to the project page and just link to the work and link to the requirements and really clarify what's going on and where their child needs to work harder, or why they got an A, or why they got a B, or why they got a C. The administration really noticed the work, and we were in the process of trying to figure out a way to make the specials more meaningful and to contribute, trying to find a way for them to contribute more meaningfully and deeply to the school curriculum. And so, due to the success of this, we've continued to try new things. We've made changes to the schedule, to how we schedule and group specials to maximize the outcomes. Our scheduling here has continued to evolve to provide even better alignment with the curriculum and the library curriculum projects. Currently, our projects are aligned with the social sciences curriculum. Nowadays, students are enrolled in library or computer class and are completing these projects during the 2 quarters of the year that they are enrolled in social sciences classes. Whereas themes of the projects described in this webinar were generally supportive of the curriculum and school's mission, more recent projects are more closely aligned to social science
Okay, thanks so much, Fran. Really awesome presentation on the Who Are We program, and I hope that it inspires people to replicate a similar model that fits their own school and their school's kind of programming priorities. So hopefully also, if you've already conducted a similar or kind of humanities-based similar program at your school in the last year, we hope that Fran's presentation has kind of inspired you to apply for the 2013 Jafarian Award, for which the deadline is December 15th, and it would be presented next year. So I'm going to bring Annalisa back for a moment to speak just a bit about the application deadlines and to give some information on what the selection committee looks for when reviewing an application. So I'll turn the mic back over to Annalisa.
Thank you, Colleen, and thanks for the opportunity for us to share this as well. And thank you to Fran for sharing this program. I remember I was on the committee last year, and this program really stood out to the entire committee, and it really did fit every single criteria. So I wanted to take a minute to go through that criteria. Some of the things Fran mentioned in his suggestions for programs to apply for. But just to go through exactly what we're looking for. First of all, excellence, appeal, and innovation of program. So we're really looking for those outstanding programs that are new and innovative and really doing something in a different way. Also, we're really looking for the impact. And this can really be shown with community involvement, and we encourage you to get letters from the community as your support, as a part of the application. Let us know how the community was impacted by this. And you can have, letters from parents and community members, scholars brought in. Any of those connections would help us. This also goes along with the evidence of a collaborative relationship. We need to see that evidence, and that can be seen through your collaboration with any groups. And it doesn't have to be all of these groups, but collaboration with teachers, the collaboration among the students, like in Fran's program, having the students look at each other's projects and reflecting and connecting them to each other. Collaborating with members of the community, administrators and parents, having that parental involvement, and as he had everything online, to make it very easy for the parents to be a part of the program. Also, the relationship of the programming to the curriculum is important. As we all know as school librarians, our job is to connect what we're doing to the curriculum and to the studies that are going on in the classroom and making that relevant to them with what we do. And so having that part of it is definitely important for this application. And lastly, the replicability of it. We really want this to be something that could then be taken and replicated in other schools. And one thing about Fran's program I think is so great is that it was a very a program of a wide scope. And I did want to mention, and he actually brought this up when we were discussing this earlier, that it really doesn't have to be as big as this program was. If you take a look at the past winners, and the URL to our main application page is on the next screen, so you can see that. But if you take a look at those past winners, not all of them covered the same ground that this program covered. So don't be overwhelmed by, the scope of his project. It doesn't have to be this big. But it, and with Fran's program, it may be that a library could replicate a part of the program and maybe not have time for the entire thing. But with your application, really think about something that could be replicated. In our entries last year, there were a couple that were so connected to the specific community that parts of it would have been very difficult to communicate, across the country to different libraries. So that is important. And now to the meat of it, the actual application details. As Colleen said, the deadline for applications this year is December 15th, 2012. These applications are self-nominated, so you will apply, whoever presents the program or the librarian in charge of the program would nominate yourself. And the award will be presented at the site of the professional development opportunity, which will be a part of criteria for accepting the award is that you will be able to share your program as a model for excellence. The award is $4,000, and this award will be made payable to the school, and it is restricted only to the purchase of programmatic materials or the development of additional programming by the winning school library, so that it will definitely be put right back into your program. And for the application and for more information, and to look at those past winners that I was referring to, and I'd really encourage you to do that before you apply. There's the URL for the ALA site, ala.org/Jafarian Award, and you can find more information there. And so I thank y'all for the opportunity to share this information with you, and to Fran for sharing such an excellent program.
Okay, thanks so much, Annalisa, for that information on the application criteria and deadline information. So just to let everybody know that the ALA staff is going to be sending a brief survey out after today's session is over, which you should probably receive by tomorrow morning. And when you get that email, if you could just take a few minutes to share your feedback with us, and that would really help us improve on future online learning opportunities such as this. And to mention again, an archived version of today's session can be made available on programminglibrarian.org, which the website is right in front of you. And it looks to have about like 15 minutes of questions. If anyone has any questions, feel free to go ahead and type them in the everyone chat, and then I can go ahead and moderate those for Fran or for Annalisa. So Lisa is wondering from Fran, what were your students' reactions to learning in this manner particularly?
Well, I remember in the first project when the research questions, it was their responsibility to establish the research questions. It was really, really open-ended. That was pretty daunting for them. I pulled back a little bit in future projects, leaving the project pretty open-ended, but I lent a bit more structure. One of the, on the practical technology side, my students go in and out of technology environments very easily now. And I think that's just a sign of the times, but also a reflection of the fact that they've been required to do that in projects. Nowadays, we go back and forth between tools that they can use on the PCs as well as the iPads, and they just do it with ease. And sometimes I or another student will run into a challenge or an obstacle, and another student will solve it before I've had time to think of a solution. So I think they're just becoming really flexible about using technology tools. As far as how they think, I think that they're thinking bigger thoughts, and they're thinking more profoundly about the world around them. And that's exactly what I want them to be doing. I want them to always say why, and how can it be changed? And they've been kind of groomed for those kinds of discussions all the way from pre-K to middle school. And I think that projects like this are an essential component to contribute to that goal.
That's excellent. That's an excellent question and response. I think the idea of sort of reformatting the program just a little bit to work with the students' reactions is great. Oh, and wonderful. So Lisa has shared a video of Fran teaching and a link to that for the mobile area. So if folks want to go ahead and check that out as well. And thank you very much for posting that, Lisa. And if anyone has any further questions they'd like to pose to Fran or to Annalisa or to us at the Public Programs Office, feel free to go ahead and do that now. Okay, great. Lisa has another question, whether this program could be adapted to high schools.
Yes, this program could be adapted to high schools. In fact, I think that these kind of projects are more like the projects in high school in terms of depth and complexity. It's my hope that when my students get to high school and 2 years of students who have endured or experienced these projects, they're already in high school. And I'm sure that they're feeling that they're having a bit of an advantage because they've used research tools, they've used technology tools, and they've been asked to complete projects that are not just asking them to report information.
Excellent, yeah. The adaptability, I think, is a great part of this program, in that, as Annalisa was saying, it's very replicable in other environments, and I think the sort of thinking process involved is very well suited to a high school. And it looks like Lisa, I have another question here, so we'll wait on that. Okay. And have you had any experiences with these projects raising the social awareness of your students? That's an excellent question. Fran?
Okay. Yes, absolutely. I'm always surprised nowadays how quickly they connect the dots to the current events. And during the course of projects like this, I'm always, when I read the paper in the morning, I'm always looking for current events that connect to their projects. Sometimes I do give them to the students. Sometimes they find them before I do. It's really amazing to me. And another one of the outcomes is that we're comfortable talking about topics that I don't think are being talked about all that much in middle school or even in high school. I've had conversations with kids where I've said, wow, you stumbled upon something that is a really big problem in the world. It's something that might make you or others uncomfortable. So if you don't want to go down this road, there are other options for you to meet this requirement. But if you're comfortable and you feel mature enough to handle it, please do it. And they always say, sure, we'll do it. Of course, we'll do it. They want to talk about things that are grown up. And I feel like they're just becoming better citizens.
Wonderful. That's definitely a worthy goal, I would say, for any humanities-based project in libraries and in schools. So I'm not sure if anyone has any other questions for Fran or for Annalisa or for us at the ALA. But again, we want to thank Fran and Annalisa very, very much for joining us and giving these presentations, as well as our participants coming in and joining us today. And hopefully able to check it out online on the archived session as well. So again, thank you all very much for attending, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks.